Welcome to the Artist Academy podcast, a place where we focus on the business side of art to help you attract more customers, increase profits, to ultimately live a life of creativity and financial freedom. I'm your host, Andrea Earhart, and I'm declaring this week Up and Coming Young Artist Week, because I sat down with a couple relatively new muralists recently who have a lot of spirit, and I think you'll enjoy hearing their stories. So this episode features Anna Gabrielle Hanswitz, or Anna the Artist. She shares her journey into full-time creativity and the hoops she's having to jump through in order to make muraling a profitable career. And hearing that this young artist is making 5 figures pure mural kind of blew me away. So we chat about her pricing strategies and where exactly Anna is getting jobs within her community. And if you look at her Instagram, she looks like somebody with a lot more experience. She has a really great way of carrying herself. And one of the main takeaways from this is how her outgoing personality really gives her a leg up when proposing and pitching ideas. You know, she has this, I'll just figure it out attitude that has really served her well. And it's fun to see somebody following their passion so early in life, even if it's not the easiest route. But let me know what you think about this week's episode with Anna the Artist. We are here with Anna. Hello. Can you give us a bit of backstory about who you are, how you got to be the successful artist you are, and the whole road to get there, I guess?
Absolutely. Hi, everybody. So I'm Anna, and I go by Anna the Artist because it kind of sounds nice. I've been an artist my whole life. Honestly, since I could hold a pencil, I've been making different drawings, and my mom would always get so mad at me because I would push the couch back at 3 years old and make little murals on the walls of my childhood home. So I've just always knew I've wanted to do this. And for the last 3 years, I've been able to go fully full-time with my business. And it's kind of just been something that I feel like I was born with. I was born with this instinct to create. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life, which I've come to learn growing up has been a bit rare. So I worked my whole life to get here. I taught myself how to do hyper-realistic portraiture when I was in middle school and the beginning of high school, and then was able to get into this trade school out in Clackamas because I am based in Vancouver, Washington, just is right across the river from Portland, which is a super big art scene, which is incredible and definitely helped inspire me growing up because Vancouver wasn't super artsy yet. It is now, which is incredible. But Portland was the place to be. So I was able to cross the river and do trade school over there where I specialized in hyper-realistic portraiture and was kind of given, I guess, better guidelines in how to do it consistently. Because when I was younger, teaching myself, I would run into problems where maybe 1 out of 3 tries was perfect and it looked exactly how I wanted. But I couldn't always replicate it and it was driving me crazy. So going to school really helped me be able to just solidify all my techniques so that I could duplicate it again and again and do it every time the way I wanted. And thankfully, I was able to actually end up teaching there for a little bit, which was really cool. I ended up being the figure drawing teacher and learning how to teach people ended up showing me that it really cemented all of the things I had learned the 2 years prior. And it was crazy. I've been able to take that teaching and change it not just to be teaching college level courses, but teaching sip and paints and being able to make something beautiful like this art piece behind me, which is a floral for those on the podcast, and be able to teach people a more simplified version so that they don't just leave a sip and paint with some nice trees and a little bit of a mountain background, but it's something that's actually unique to them. I just love that. I don't like doing the same thing every time with people. I like helping them be able to express their creativity. So that school and being able to teach really just helped me blossom my creativity and learn how to cement everything down. And then after that, I moved to New Zealand for a while, which was so fun. I ended up not painting for that time. I painted here and there, but nothing crazy. I picked up my camera and started taking more photos. Did a lot of weddings over there, a lot of nature photography, and it was incredible.
Where was it, you said?
In New Zealand.
New Zealand. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it was just the best. So beautiful. And everyone there is so creative. The culture is just like so rich that anywhere you'd be, you'd just be inspired to create something. And I knew that I wasn't going to be able to bring back canvases when I moved back to the States. So I just decided I'll paint a little bit, but then mostly take photos so that when I come home, I can return to the studio and paint like crazy, which is exactly what I did. I had to come back during COVID and because visas and everything. So I ended up coming back and living with some mentors for a while who were just incredible. And they sat me down with a bottle of wine and a laptop and said, "You're starting your business. This is what you're doing. You can't leave until your website's done. Here's a bottle of wine." And I was like, okay, sure. So I was tired because it was 10 p.m., but I was up till like 2 a.m. fixing this website because they wouldn't let me go to bed until they were like, it looks good.
I feel like everybody needs a mentor like that, because how many of us, especially in the beginning, are like, I'll make a website one day. And then that one day it's a year later and 2 years. It's like, just sit down and do it with a bottle of wine. I love it.
Exactly. And cheese and snacks. It was perfect. But I probably would have gotten to it one day. But honestly, yeah, it was such a big deal that they sat down and were like, you're doing this. Because they ran their own massage therapy business. So they knew all the things that I needed to do. They were like, you're doing your website, you're getting your business license, and you're starting. So I started in 2020 back in the States. And then by 2021, I was able to go full time. I had been a nanny and a barista at that time. And I'd made a goal of like, if I can have 3 to 6 months of expenses in my savings and pay my rent, then I can go full time. And thankfully, I was able to go full time. I think it was October 2021. And I had this amazing client. They were creating this memorization program for kids. And I was just doing graphic design work for them, which was super fun. Definitely not what I was like aiming to go for. The goal has always been art commissions and murals. Murals have just always captivated me. But I was like, this is getting me to my goal. And through that, I was able to have the time to invest in my community. So downtown Vancouver is a very like up and coming town. There's a lot of small businesses moving into it, but it was like just starting when I moved home. And I was able to spend all my time going to networking meetings, all my time hanging out with all the business owners and just being like, hey, so I'm here. If you need a mural, just let me know. Like, just let me know. And I was like so wildly like persistent that one day, this one amazing lady comes up. She goes, okay, you can finally stop asking me. Here's a wall.
I love it.
And it was so funny. It was great. So I travel a lot for work. So I was in Arkansas for a photo shoot when I got the message from her. So I was designing the project while I was gone, got her approval, came back. And then the next day I was like on the wall painting, thrilled out of my mind. And we do this thing in Vancouver called Spruce the Couve. It's like a little cleanup rally. And the winner gets like a pizza party for their staff. It's like for the businesses. So they ended up winning, which got the city excited about me. And then I was able to connect with the city of Vancouver, which was so fun. Do some graphic design work for them, which was like, you know, those banners on like the city that say like downtown Vancouver or like Michigan or Michigan's a state. But you know what I mean? So that's what I started making for them until there was this one project that really got me to where I am now with like just the credibility and like the consistent incoming work. They had this guy who wanted to design this one piece that was going to be on the side of this really big building in Vancouver, but it was also it was on a church building. So they didn't want it to be like super like controversial. They wanted it to be more friendly. And it was a beautiful piece of art that this artist had created, but it was more fit for a skate park than the side of a church. And the like pastor who owned the building was like not very keen. So I was just chatting with my client about an entirely different project. And he just asked for my point of view on like what I would put up there. Because he was just trying to figure out what to do. He's like, I have to put something there, but I don't know what to do. And we sat there and we came up with this beautiful like heart and floral piece that I ended up putting on that side of the building about 3 or 6 months later. that really just connected with downtown, because Vancouver is a space where people are very prideful about being here. They like love it. And the piece is called like The Heart of Vancouver, and it's a yellow heart to like share about like friendship and connection and community with all these local P&W flowers coming out of it to like express growth and how our community has been growing over time. And from there, I've been able to connect with different clients because of like the visibility of this mural. And yeah, it's been incredible.
Awesome. How old are you?
I'm 23.
You're 23. Okay. So
Yeah.
you are getting an early start. I love it. Okay. I love that because when I was younger as well, like I used to be a really shy kid, but I really knew what I wanted as well. And I was like, I'm just going to go for it. And you seem like persistence might be your secret sauce that you've got going on. You're just like, I'm going to do it. So.
Oh, 100%. Because I bet you probably relate, like being told being an artist, you're going to be this like starving artist and you're going to be on the street like, oh no, and graffiti is bad. But realize and you like take a step back that like there's a way to make it happen. And like the only way to get there is to just keep trying.
Yeah, for sure. So you never really considered any other vocation. You're just like, I'm going to be an artist for sure.
100%. I like maybe thought about opening a coffee shop one day, but then I worked for like a mom and pop shop and went, nope, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I worked for a mom and pop coffee shop breakfast thing too. And anytime we go into one nowadays, actually we went into one this morning, and like the smell of the kitchen and all that, I'm like, oh no. It's not for me.
100%. I can't even go in sometimes and like look at the trash and not want to take it out. I like worked in it for 5 years. I was like, but the trash is overfilling. Someone has to do it. And I'm like, this isn't even my coffee shop that I worked in.
I love it. Okay. Do you still do some photography?
Yes, I do. I shoot about 2 to 5 weddings a year. I'm really picky about my brides because I want to make sure that I can just treat them to like the best experience ever. And I do love photography, but I just know that it's such a personal thing. And especially with weddings, like I want to be able to take their engagement photos and have a beautiful wedding with them and then give them a beautiful wedding album. And I just can't do that with everybody. So I try and like file it down so that I can put my all into those few.
Yeah. So you like weed out the budget customers? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of, but also like depends on the personality too.
Yeah.
Like I would like to make it work for the budget customers if our like personalities really jive and the style that I have matches with their style. I'm willing to make it work because it feels to me I've worked so many weddings that it's all about personalities and jiving.
Yeah.
So that'll like make or break a day. I worked weddings as like a coffee person and as a bartender. And I've seen some photographers crush it. And I've seen some not so much. And it's in my like personal opinion, it's because of like the personality clash between the bride and the photographer. And I never want to be the person that like ruins their day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So do you find that that's a thing with murals? Or what kind of customers do you usually have with murals and painting?
With murals, I feel like it's very important to jive with your clients, like personality wise, but it's not as important as in photography because you're creating an art piece for them. And about 80% of the time, you're not even with your client. You're just on the wall. And then like the 20% is like getting to know them, seeing what they want, getting your contract sorted, payments, and then you're going. So it's more about making sure that you can understand what they want and like display what they want.
True. Okay. Yeah. I didn't even think about that because with a camera, you're taking pictures of them. Like you are working with them the whole time. So you have to be able to, like the smile has to be real and all of that.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't done any photography as you can tell, but
it's an interesting way to be creative, but it's so much fun, but it's so much more interpersonal than creating an art piece for somebody because you want it to fit their home. But I've had a client before, they're a lovely family, more introverted. And I'm a rather extroverted person. I like want to talk with people and get to know them. And they were just like, this is what we want. Can you do it? And I was like, yeah. They're like, okay. And then that was it. And then I did it. And they were like, we like it. I went, amazing.
Great.
And then I went home and I was like, did they like it? But they did, because they've texted me later and be like, we really love it. They're just not as like bubbly in person.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So how do you now get your customers for painting? And do you do commissions or murals, or what's your main form of art?
My main form of art that's like an income would be murals. I've been doing murals for 2 years. I think I've done over 30 now, which has been so fun. And then I do commissions as well, but not as often. I'm a little more picky about what I do for commissions, because murals they're so fun because you can have them be a little more intricate, but most people just want a very like graphic design, block art kind of thing, where it's your majority of the time you're painting a big thing, but you're doing layers on layers on layers instead of something more detailed like a Renaissance style painting. But when it comes to commissions, most people want like a Renaissance style painting, so it'll take a bit longer.
Yeah, so true. What kind of people are you painting for? Mostly businesses, or how are they finding you?
Yeah, so they're finding me a lot via Instagram and word of mouth. So I do a lot of work with the city, and because of that, I get a lot of like eyeballs on my work. And people will find my Instagram through my like little artist tag, and then they'll message me and say, hey, like I found your mural. I love it. I would love for you to come painting in my home. Or we'd love for you to do like a small commission for us, like a canvas painting, which has been super fun way to find clients. But then word of mouth through different businesses has been amazing. I've done a lot of different work for small businesses, specifically in Vancouver and like the Portland area. And then outside of that, it's like residential work, like in homes. I did like a pantryway mural one time, and then a few living rooms, which is so fun.
Okay. So you say you work with the city, or murals
Yes.
in the city? Okay. So you're working with the city. What kind of contact?
Yeah, so I'd be like a contractor to them. So they kind of reach out to me and they're like, hey, we need new banners for the holidays. Can you do some graphic design work for us? Or we have this wall that we've been trying to figure out what to do with. And kind of whenever they don't know what to do with a wall, they'll reach out to me so that we can kind of troubleshoot it, figure it out. And then I normally end up being the one painting it, which is so much fun.
Yeah. Okay. So when you're working with the city of Vancouver, who is your contact? Like, what is their title?
It's called Vancouver Downtown Association.
Okay.
So it's a nonprofit that like really focuses on beautifying the city and making sure the streets are clean and everything is looking friendly and welcoming to new people coming and for the residents living there.
Okay. So it's like a beautification committee within the city. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's funded through donations?
Yeah. Donations and grants.
Okay. So they're applying for the grants and they're getting the donations, and they're coming to you and saying, we want to fill this wall with color.
Yeah.
And then so you create the graphic, and then do they have to get bids from other artists as well?
Depends on the project. The last 2 that I've done with them, I've been the only artist that was considered for the project. And we just kind of troubleshooted concept ideas. And from there, we decided on the final. And then I went from there. And I normally charge through square footage. So they'll have like a certain amount of grants. And if my fee is more than the grant, they'll find another grant to apply for.
Oh, great. What is your normal square footage price range?
It depends on the client. My regular is 25 to 30 per square foot. And then with nonprofits, I give them like a 15% discount because they're nonprofits. I want to make sure that I take care of my people.
Okay. Okay. So how big are these murals that you're doing? So like, what's the average price of project that you're doing lately?
Oh man. The project I'm currently working on it's 600 feet long.
Oh, wow.
But 3 feet high.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. It's been a journey. My back is destroyed, but it's worth it. It's on an overpass. So it's like cut up in 2. So it's 300 feet long walls. And it's this whole garden project. Oof. So basically there's this community garden that it's inspired by. And once it's complete, which will hopefully be the end of June, it'll be like walking through a garden, but it'll never die. So in the years, like the months of seasonal depression in the Pacific Northwest, we'll still have vibrant flowers to go see and look at. And that project I think it was around $20,000.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
You're 23 and making $20,000 on projects. That is pretty great.
It's been a lot of work and I'm really grateful to be here. It's
Yeah.
insane. I never thought this would really work. And then it did. And you're just like, oh, now we're here.
You're like, whoa, that's awesome. I love to see that you're getting started so early because I have so many people who come to me who choose the wrong career path and they just, they just don't either follow what they really want to do or they were advised to go somewhere else and they're, 30 and 40 with kids and they're like, and it's really cool to see that you're doing it from a young age as well. So I ran into this when I was young. I guess probably maybe a little bit younger than when you were, but people didn't take me seriously sometimes because I was so young. Do you run into that at all?
100%.
Okay.
When I went full time, I was 21. So I felt like I would play dress up.
Yeah.
I have all these blazers and these trousers and high heel boots. I would slick my hair back. I've got really curly hair, like you can see. And I would try my best to be like, okay, don't let them ask how old you are. And don't let them ask if you went to school. Go. And then I would just fake it as hard as I could. And I'd try and use big words. I look back and it's a bit embarrassing because I'm like, oh my God.
That's so funny. Well, you got the jobs, or so at least some of them.
Exactly. So now that I have a bit of credibility under my belt, but when I had no murals, I was just like, we can do this.
Yeah. Yeah. You find it's getting easier now that you're a couple years or a few years in, you're 3 years in and you're doing $20,000 projects. Do you feel like it's more of, this is kind of an everyday thing, or do you still have that drive and that fight to be like, I will paint for you and so stuff? Do you feel like you're still hustling?
Definitely still hustling.
Okay.
I don't know if the hustle stops.
Yeah.
I ask people and I feel like it does.
Yeah. It does.
Oh, okay.
And then you get spoiled.
That is good.
I am spoiled. But it's cool to see. It's good that you have the energy to do it and the want. And it's it bleeds on to everybody else too. Just hearing that you're going to go for it. It's good to hear.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a lot. And it takes a lot of energy and a lot of time, but it's so worth it. Because there's nothing else I've wanted to do. And I've had, like you were saying, a lot of people try and steer me in different directions, tell me to go to college or go and do this thing or do that thing. But I've realized I'm 23, single, I don't have any kids. This is the time to bet on myself. And if I can pay my rent and pay my bills, then I'm going to keep doing it. If I can't pay my rent and pay my bills, then I'll get a part-time job.
Yeah.
And that's always my rule. As long as I can pay my bills, let's keep doing it. Let's run it as far as we can. See if I'm a wave that ever reaches shore, or how deep am I in the ocean? I want to try and do this as long and as hard as I possibly can.
Yeah, for sure. What do your parents think of it? I remember when I told my dad and my mom I was going into art, they were like, okay, good. Now they're like, yeah, it's a really good thing you did that. I'm like, yeah.
Very much the same situation. My dad's a very big businessman. My mom's artistic, but she's more in the education world. So she wanted me to go to college, and so did my dad. And when I sat them down and was like, no, I'm going to go be a photographer in New Zealand, and then I'm going to do this full time. I think I've never freaked them out more in my life.
Yeah.
Ever. No. But now that I have been able to consistently make an income for the past 3 years, full-time as an artist, still hustling, which I am excited that one day that'll end. They're pretty proud of me and excited about it and see that it was the right route, even though it's more unconventional.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Okay. So I think you're a really good interview person because there's a lot of people who are in the hustle era that you're in. And let's talk about that. Let's see, any tips you have, or maybe any kind of stories or things that you've run up against to where your hustle and your drive has helped. I know you've told us a couple already, but mainly just talking to the people who are currently in that hustle of and maybe they're getting a little tired and they're like, man, this is tough, or, and I guess I always would give the advice, energy feeds off of wins. So like if you get a win and you get a job, you get a lot more energy from it. And then it just compounds and it just goes and goes and goes. And so I guess, what is your experience right now? Let's talk about it.
Oh, right now I'm tired, but in like a good way, if that makes sense. Like, it's been 3 years. I'm super stoked on it still. But you know when you like reach your goal and it's not exactly what you thought it would be?
What do you mean?
It's more than I thought it would be.
Oh, good. Okay.
Which is so amazing and so exhausting at the same time. That the thing that's like really saved me is like my personal boundaries with my work, and how when I am with my friends and with my boyfriends and with family, I try and turn off my work. And I take a very intentional time to rest. Like, I'm on this very big project right now, 600 feet long. I had started last fall. The rain started, so I couldn't continue it. Instead of being like, no, I can't figure this out, like, I have to keep going, I was like, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go on a spa weekend and relax. Because if I keep hustling every minute of every single day, I'm going to burn out. And then I was able to pick it up. I think I started 3 weeks ago, back up on the wall, which is super exciting. And when I'm done with this project, I'm probably going to take another spa weekend and just tell myself it's good, it's over, exciting, celebrate it, and then go find the next project. Because it's like, it's never ending, you know, like it just keeps going and going. It's work, but it's also the thing you love most. So it's something you have to remember, like you can't do it all the time, and you have to prioritize your people and your rest. And I think that's the one thing that keeps it going, is that I'm trying my best to be balanced, because I don't think you ever are fully like a balanced person. I think it's more of an act, like a balancing act.
Yeah.
Like some days my work is way higher than I want it to be. And sometimes my like personal life and like fun things are way higher, which is always fun. But I just need to make sure that I'm doing my best to like balance them both. And it's okay if one like goes a little higher up than the other every now and then, because they'll balance each other out as life goes on.
So true. That was great. That's a great talking point, because you are smarter than I was back then, because I probably worked myself to burnout every year for several years. So I was like, yeah, it's summer. Like, let's do this. But I also had a scarcity mentality of if I don't do it, and if I don't say yes to this and I don't take, the jobs while they're coming, then, they're going to run out one day, or like, and because sometimes, during you guys have the rainy season, like we would have winter that would slow down quite a bit. And so I would just overwork myself in the summer. And then when it slowed down, I'd be like, that's okay, I overworked myself. And then I just get jittery. I'm like, what do I need to do? Like, it's just, so props to you for just being aware in that way.
Thanks. It's definitely tough to like remember to stay balancing. But yeah, like the summer here is insane. I'm like, okay, work, but make sure I play. And like next week, I'm going to California. I'm going to do some photos down there, but most of the time it's going to be like chill. And then after that, I have another work trip. And it's nice to know that I can still do fun things, even though it's the sunny season. It's not rainy right now, but I'm still going to go do something that's for me and for fun. But then when I'm back and I am boots on the ground here, I'm working so hard, because I know the winter's coming and it will get slower. But that's the time where I can sit in my studio and make my own art, and make art that's like just for me, that I want to showcase in galleries or sell prints of. Because when it comes to murals, I love that I can express myself. But most of them are for my clients, and it's for what they'll see every day and what they'll see in their homes every day. And especially if it's in like a residential place, like people are living there every day. It doesn't matter if it's my style or not. It's what they need, and what they need to feel joy every day. And I've done murals that I'm like, wow, I didn't know I could do that. We did it.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
I remember that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's like, especially, but you started with hyper realistic stuff. So you're a pretty confident artist coming into the mural thing, because there's so many that I coach that they're learning how to paint along with how to, start a business. So it's both, but you focused on that early to where you could did you find it tough, since you did hyper realism and you trained with that? Did you find it tough to transition to murals, to where you weren't taking a really, really long time on a big wall. Like, because there's a lot of artists that I talk to that you could spend so much time on a canvas to make it absolutely perfect. And then come to a mural, it's like, okay, to actually make money, we need to do this in 10 hours and not 100. How do we like?
Yeah, it's been a journey.
Okay.
Oh man, because when I started doing art as a business, I thought, I'm going to do hyperrealism. I'm going to do exactly what I studied in school. The first job I got to go full time was making clip arts.
Oh,
as a graphic designer. That killed my ego instantly. Like, I love these clients. They're one of my favorite because they are the ones that made me go full time. But I taught myself how to do graphic design for them so that I could do
yeah,
it.
you do what you got to do.
I sat myself and I was like, we're doing what we got to do. And I had no idea how much that would help me for murals because I was able to learn how to simplify things and make it easier and like a little more fun because I love hyperrealism, but it's a very serious art form. Like it's not extremely playful all the time. But murals, they're playful, they're geometric, they're bright, they're vibrant. They're supposed to bring a certain joy to people that hyperrealism brings sometimes more awe than like joy. You're like, oh my God, I can't believe someone did that versus like, oh, wow, that makes me happy. I want to take a photo in front of it.
I love it. Well, I'm so excited to just keep following you and see where you're going to end up because you have a special spark of a personality and you're so young and and I don't mean to say so young and you can't, I don't know. Like I mean it as in a good
No, I am
thing.
young. That's okay.
Okay. Like I mean it as a good thing. You're getting such a start at a young age and I want to see where you're going to be at like 43 and like 20 years from now because it as a career is going to branch and it's just I think you have so much potential. You're going to be a fun one to watch. So I will definitely keep following.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Do you have any little last bits of advice for I guess our listeners who want to do what you're doing?
I'd say find people to look up to. I was growing up with like Instagram becoming a thing.
Yeah.
So the artists who were making it at 20, 23, 25, I didn't know who they were. All I knew were like the people that I was learning in art histories class. And I was obsessed with Van Gogh, Monet, like love them. But I didn't have anyone in my day-to-day that was doing the thing I wanted to do. So it was kind of discouraging as I kept trying and trying and trying. And everyone I would meet would just tell me it wasn't possible. And that was really tough. But because we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have TikTok, we can find people to look up to and like learn from them and like reach out to. I made a friend with a muralist in the area. She's incredible. Her name's Vanya Bridges. I love her. And I messaged her on Instagram because she followed me one time because my reel popped up on her feed. And then we got coffee and we became friends. And it was the biggest deal for me because I'd never in my life had somebody who was ahead of me in my career that I like personally knew. And that like, I think changed my perspective because even talking with you where you're like, the hustle ends. I'm like, oh, that's good to know. I didn't know, you know? And it's just been so important for me to realize like there's longevity to this career and it's different than like being a lawyer or a doctor, but it's so worth it and so much fun.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it definitely helps to have people who just to give you even like your mentor that sat you down to say, hey, make a website. Like that's just little bits like that are so valuable to artists, just like little things. I remember getting advice when I was just advice about things that I still remember of something random that an artist said and just it stuck with me. And I was like, oh, I needed to hear that. Thank you. But yeah.
100%. Even like mentors. I had one mentor before I moved to New Zealand. She was just like, school will always be there. If it doesn't work out, you can go.
Yeah.
But bet on yourself now. Because she was like 50 and just getting her master's and then she was going to go get her PhD. And I was like, how are you doing that now? And she goes, still here.
Yeah, exactly. That's awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us and to help inspire other artists to do what you're doing. We really appreciate you. And
of course, thanks for having me on. It was so nice to meet you. Oh my goodness. I love your work, by the way. I don't think I said that yet, but your account is awesome.
Thank you. I'm going to continue to follow you and I recommend everybody listening to do the same. You're going to do big things. So thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Artist Academy podcast. If you like this art and business talk in audio form, then I want to invite you to get my book. It's called Mural Money: How to Grow Your Art Business from Zero to Six Figures. So starting from the very bottom, like you don't even have a website yet. You have nothing. You're not sure where to go, and you want to make money with a paintbrush. You want to have your creativity pay the bills. I have taken so much of the advice that I've gotten from artists from this podcast. I've been doing one episode for over 5 years now. So many interviews, so many good bits of advice. So I've taken the best of that advice and put it in my book, along with so many stories and lessons learned that I've had in my own mural career of just how I would go back and save a whole lot of time if I just knew these steps. It's a 15-hour audiobook. And so if you like this podcast, if you're listening to interview after interview, I know that you're going to like the book. So go to muralmoney.com. It's for anybody who wants to grow their art business with a paintbrush. Muralmoney.com. And I will see you next week for another episode of the Artist Academy podcast.